Hey everybody, I'm Jane Tweedy and I'm from FAQ Business Training. Today is our first tea time tip. Today's tea time tip is part of International Coaching Week. And part of International Coaching Week, I wanted to talk about something that comes up a lot in coaching, and it's the way that we talk to ourselves, talk about ourselves, and the way that we talk about other people and the impacts that that can have on their lives. Today, we are going to be talking about minding your P's and Q's, why language is extremely powerful in a popular way and in not such a popular way. So why does it matter what we say to ourselves and others, and what impacts does it have on people? The first thing is that it can have an absolutely devastating impact. I met with a lady in the weekend, and I'll share her story in a second. And it was amazing that the story has lasted for so long. This particular one came up only a few days ago. It was mentioned in a resume writers group. This particular one will put this post up. And she said, and it was talking about having bad reviews from clients or people asking for refunds. And she said, I had one last year abuse and harass me so intensely, I stopped taking new business for over 6 months. It was that bad. I'm now only getting back on the track and stepping back into resume writing. So she let one person's negativity, one person who had a bad experience, and when she's given me a further explanation, it was one of those customers which should have been a red flag from the start. She should have, rejected them from the start, but she didn't. And yeah, some horrific story around it. But basically, this person was so evil to her, so nasty to her, that she stopped doing that business for 6 months because she had massive imposter syndrome, massive, can I do this? Am I right to do this? What have I done wrong? And all these things kept coming up. And it had a devastating impact. 6 months, she didn't run her business. She literally shut down her Facebook page, closed everything down. For all intents and purposes, shut up shop. And it wasn't until a friend of hers kind of forced her back into it by saying, oh, please do this for me, help me get into a new career, that she jumped back into it. And now, thankfully, she is back into it. So that's awesome. So really stop and think, could you say things differently? So when you're talking to something, bear in mind that the impact you can have on them can be massive. And just because you're having a bad hair day doesn't mean that they need to have a bad hair day too. So just something to think about. And the reason I'm emphasizing this point is because of this conversation I had in the weekend. So I was chatting to this lovely lady, and she is in her 70s, 80s. And back in 1988, so 33 years ago, she was working as a typist. And she'd been working as a typist loyally in this firm for 17 years. And anyway, this particular line in the conversation came about purely because I'd said to her, what had she done in her past? What had she done in her past? What had she, done before obviously retiring? And she said, I'd worked in admin roles and I'd, been a typist in the typist pool and things, blah, blah, blah. And she raised this without me, questioning it, without me saying, what was a bad experience or good experience or whatever. She raised this. So this is how much it stuck with her, that in her psyche, 33 years on, just having a casual conversation, she told me this. And she said that her boss dumped a computer on her desk in 1988. She remembers the date well. Dumped on her desk and said, right, from Monday, you're going to be using a computer instead of a typewriter. And you think about that when you first get a new computer, you've got to, fluff around learning a new operating system. And when they update Windows, you got to change everything. And it's a pain, right? So it's frustrating, and you get stuck along the way. So think about it. You're brand new to your computer. You've never used it before, never used an operating system, never used the software, never used any of it. And she had no training. They were going to give her 2 hours, 2 days a week training to use the computer, but she was told, use it on Monday. So she kind of went, shock face when they said that to her. And her manager said to her, if you can't make the change, then I'll find someone who can. And that has stuck with her for all that time. Now, when you add that to the fact that she had also had a childhood where she lacked praise from her father, She says she can remember, a handful of times when her father praised her because he would add a little E to her name. She knew when she'd, done something good, but he didn't praise her. So when you add a lifetime of childhood not being praised and you add this negative comment, it stays with you for life, and it can stay with you for life. In her case, it can. And what that does, like this other lady, it has flow-on effects. You start having imposter syndrome. You start thinking, I'm not good enough. And the problem is, if you don't think you're good enough and you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to believe in you either. So it has a massive flow-on effect for your life. So really think about what you're saying to people, thinking about when you word something, when you word an email or you word a comment, particularly on socials where it can get easily misconstrued. Think about, how can I change this? How can I reword it? So maybe write the post and pause thing, and then go back to it and go, is this actually conveying the message I want it to convey? And then put it across. Or thinking, could I soften this a bit? Still get the message I want to get out, but not do it in such a harmful way. So these are a couple of examples of the lifelong impact these type of things can have on somebody. Another client of mine, we did a thing called a vision walk, which is a coaching tool. And she came to me saying, I have issues with leadership. I don't feel I can lead people. It's been an issue for me, and I'm not sure why. So anyway, we did this vision walk exercise. And in this exercise, you go back to being a child, and you basically look at when you lead something as a child. And when she was looking back into her childhood, she realized she was getting a lot of feelings of repeatedly being told by her father, again, a different father situation, that she was not good enough. She was never good enough. Nothing was ever good enough. Everything had to be improved, fixed, changed. Nothing was good enough. Then also in her childhood, when she was about 11 or so, she was told by a teacher, shut up. We don't want to hear what you have to say. And that one line, again, combined with what was going on at home, really stuck with her. And that has actually been the catalyst of why she has not been able to lead. She actually was afraid to speak up. And when we were doing this exercise, one of the things you do is you actually ask them where they're feeling it. And she was feeling it in her throat because obviously she was afraid to speak. So the thing is with this stuff, it's not blaming other people. It's not about blame. It's not a blame game, but it's identifying where things have come from, where these patterns have come from, so that we can identify them and identify that back then, after that point, she shut up. She didn't say anything anymore because she didn't want to be called out in front of a class and told to shut up. This is what she did. She protected herself by being quiet. So this is what you've got to remember. You're protecting yourself. And sometimes what happens is that why we protected ourselves is no longer the case. So we can choose to change. So what happens when we no longer hold that statement true? When it just doesn't need to be there for us anymore. So when you're told, shut up, you've got nothing to say, but you're going, actually, I do have something to say. So think about what happens when we change that. We no longer hold that statement true. We just relegate that statement as something that we've learned or something from our past. Something from our past, something that we acknowledge was someone's opinion. In the case of the resume writer, he might have been perfectly, disgruntled. He may have not been happy with the experience he got, and that's fine. We're not going to please everyone all the time. But, take on board what you need to take on board. And she's learned some things out of it about how to contract with people, what things to accept and what not to accept, when to look at the red flags, all that sort of stuff. The other one is to understand that in the past, these things protected us, but they may no longer serve us. So if shutting up no longer serves us, then we don't need to shut up anymore. We can speak. We can open ourselves up. One of the things we need to do was when we recognize these patterns, because I said this is not a blame game, but it's about recognizing that this pattern is there and recognizing it no longer serves you. So when it no longer serves you, you need to change the pattern. I have a blog or a video on my website, which came out of a Facebook group. So it's not the best quality, but worth having a look at anyway, because it talks about this issue. It talks about if you grow up feeling that you were poor, even when you know you're not poor as an adult, it will still sit there. It will still cause you to do certain actions that are not in your best interest. So something to look at, and that can help you move forward. Things like this, when we're framing something, I don't want, or I don't have enough money. I don't want to be unhappy. I should or I must. So when we say I should or I must, whose should or must are these? I should, be more active on LinkedIn. Who's saying you should be more active? You or the people? Who is saying this? If it's somebody else's thing, then maybe it's someone else's agenda. We don't actually need to follow it. So think about ways that we can change this language. Instead of saying what you don't want to have, talk about what you want to have. Instead of talking about what you don't want to have, talk about what you want to have. I don't want to be unhappy. Rephrase that. I want to be happy. I don't have enough money. I have enough money to survive, today, whatever. Rephrase things. Change the I should or I must, which sounds like it's an obligation on you from someone else, to I want. Or if you don't want it, get rid of it, ditch it. It becomes something for somebody else. These are other negative words that we say to ourselves. Now, the word I can't. How many times do you say, I can't do that? I failed. I never succeed. I always stuff up. I'm hopeless. That person made me mad. No person can make you mad. The way that you react to them is making you mad. Two people can respond to a situation in a completely different way. So when you have the word I can't, replace it with the word I won't. And see how you feel when you make that change. So if you can say I can't run a marathon, and you change it to I won't run a marathon, and if you say I won't run a marathon, it suddenly makes you feel uncomfortable. Do you know why? It's because it wasn't a can't thing. You could do it. You're choosing not to do it for other reasons. By rephrasing it as I won't, then it's a will thing. You're saying I'm not doing it. Now, in my case, I'm going, I won't run a marathon, and I'm happy with that because I can't run a marathon. I won't run a marathon because I have dodgy knees and stuff like that. That's fine. So it doesn't make me feel uncomfortable. But if it was something where I say, I can't get my online school up and running, and I rephrase it to I won't get my online school up and running, that's going to make me feel really uncomfortable because it's something I really want to do, but I'm just not getting it done. So that's going to, then that causes you to rethink things. I failed. A fail is a first attempt in learning. Think of it like that, and suddenly it becomes a completely different thing. You think about Edison and that. Did they just do their inventions on day one? Of course not. Absolutely no way. I never is generalizing. I always is generalizing. I'm hopeless is generalizing and distorting. And that person made me mad is putting the way that we're behaving and feeling from someone else. And we can't do that. We are controlling our emotions. Tea time. Need my tea. So if you're saying something like, I never succeed, think about a time that you did. Think about a time where you did succeed. And then you'll realize using the word never as an absolute term is a load of rubbish. Don't do it. The other time that you might use nevers is in a situation where you've only done something a couple of times and your sample size is just too small. Like Facebook ads never work for me. Well, if you've run 2 Facebook ads, it's not really a big enough sample size. And it's probably more about your execution than running Facebook ads. I always fail. Has there been a time when you didn't? Of course there has been. So again, ditch I never and I always. They are words that we are putting into our heads that's making it seem that it's okay to fail. It's okay to never succeed. It's not true. What you do is not who you are. And this is really important to understand. I had people telling me at a particular event that they were disorganized. And for instance, one lady, I'd been to her house and her house was immaculately clean. And I'm like, okay, I've been to your house. Your house is not disorganized. Oh, no, that's not what I mean. I'm disorganized in this situation. I'm disorganized when I'm doing my admin work. Well, that's the thing that you're doing. It is not saying I'm disorganized. Okay, so make sure that you're not changing something that you do into who you are. Another lady said she was disorganized. because she, was a bit slack on meeting deadlines or something, or turning up for meetings, whatever. And then she said, and I said to her, is there somewhere in your life where you're really organized? And she said, oh yeah, my fabrics, they're all really color-coded and organized and rah, rah, rah. Therefore, you're not disorganized. As a being, you're not disorganized. Your admin work is disorganized, not you as a being. So be careful of turning things that you do into who you are, because it's not. The word try is a word that you need to get out of your vocab. And I loved this line from a movie. Trying is having the attention to fail. You've got to scrap that word from your vocab. Say you're going to do it and you will. Now, there's two things with this. We say the word try. Oh, I'm going to try and get my tax done this weekend. Okay, we honestly kind of are talking about it, but by saying I'll try to get it done is giving me an automatic out. So we don't want to use the word try when we're talking about things that we're setting for ourselves. Say, I will get the tax done this weekend. Commit to it. Actually make it a positive. The other one is when someone else asks us to do something, and even if it's something good, but we go, they've asked us to do something on Saturday night and we don't really want to go. So we're saying, oh, I'll try to get there, when you know full well you're not going to get there. So just be upfront and honest, and don't use it as a cop-out. If you don't want to do it, if you don't want to try, say no. Learn to say no politely. It's a good skill to have. These are just some other examples of negative language that you need to get rid of in your writing that you do. So things like the word contract has a bit of a negative connotation, whereas an agreement sounds like we're coming to some agreement together. A contract sounds very legal. I'd like the opportunity to work with you. I'd love the opportunity to work for you. So much more powerful, so much more behind it. What do you think about that versus how does that work for you? How does that feel for you? Try and dig into the feeling side. People buy an emotion, they validate with logic. Try and tap into that emotional side. Saying something like, oh, I suppose we could do that. Suppose we could fit that in. We're keen to accommodate. Very different. Again, accommodate's showing that, we're kind of fitting it in, but it sounds much more positive and proactive than, I suppose we could. Good, okay, sure, all right. Very meh words. They just don't have oomph. Fabulous, awesome, wonderful, but don't overuse them. There was a guy one time who sent an email with the word awesome in it 20 times. It literally drove me insane. And the other thing is just words like, lockdown, such a negative word, whereas staycation sounds so much more positive. A little to-do list or suggestions out of today. If you've got any questions, if you are on here live, feel free to chuck them in. If you are watching it on the replay, just hashtag replay so that I know that to remember to check them. Put your question in and I'll come back and answer it. But I always suggest a to-do list after doing any form of training. And so what I suggest is consider what you say and write. Okay, so really think about things that you're putting out there. Are you saying negative things to yourself, or are you saying negative things to somebody that could stick with them for the rest of their life? Do you really want to be shaping someone's life negatively forever? No. So think about changing that. Review your emails and your comments on socials, because often that's where we go awry. Consciously reword your language. So make some of those changes. Take out the word contract and replace it with agreement. So much friendlier, so much nicer. Reflect. Is this making me feel different by making these changes? Are people around me responding better if I make some of these changes? And if you need help with this topic, look into coaching. The reason I talked about this topic today was because it is International Coaching Week, and the language that we use and the way that we talk is a really key part of the coaching conversation. So if you do need help, I am a professional certified coach, a PCC, with the ICF, the International Coaching Federation. So do feel free to reach out to me and I can offer some assistance to you. And if you're in New South Wales, you may be able to take advantage of the New South Wales government-funded Business Connect program. So that was my tea time tip, the first one. I hope you got something useful out of it. Thank you for those of you that did pop by today. And as I said, if you're watching on the replay, do feel free to ask a question, make a comment, let me know how you've been impacted by any of these issues. I'd love to know. So thank you guys for checking in, and we look forward to seeing you again. If you've got any topics you'd like us to cover in tea time tips, let us know. Basically, these are meant to be mini lunch and learns that you can just watch on your tea break. Okay, thanks, guys, and catch you again soon. Bye.